Welcome, everyone. My name is Jeff St. Laurent, and as you can see, I have an awesome guest coming with me that I'm introduced to you in just a second. Before I get to that, I help coaches transition to a full-time business. I record all of these Tuesday live shows. I put them on my university at my website, sellingcoaching.com. So please go ahead and check that out. I got a lot of great resources there, one of which you can start right off on the homepage. If you enter your name and email, that will get you my audio resource, which is Launching Your Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps. That's going to also put you in my email community where I send great information, tips, etc. Let you know of different programs that I'm running on a weekly basis. One of which program, I've got a great group mentor coaching program that I'll be launching in a couple weeks. For those of you that are watching live, I'll put something about that in the chat. If you're watching the live broadcast, if this is the recording, you'll see it down below as well. But with that being said, I don't want to talk about any of that stuff anymore. I have my great mentor coaching client, Adam Stevens, on the show. Adam, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So as we were talking prior to this, and those that saw, the email that went out for this show, I was talking about developing a bold confidence in your business. And let's rewind, Adam, and let's talk about, when you came to me. I always like to check out the dates. It was close to about a year ago, correct?
I think we started in December, or maybe we kind of connected. I did GoPro probably, what was it, October or November? I did the 14th.
Exactly, yeah. So we're closing on a year in the next month or so. Yeah. And since we first started like doing anything together. And you started off with my 14-day GoPro challenge, and then you worked with me as your mentor coach. So I want to give everyone a snapshot of kind of like where you were in your business when you did the challenge, when you decided to hire me, and get a feel for kind of like where you were at, so they kind of get a premise as we move forward with this.
Yeah, so I think I had kind of left a terrible corporate job outside medical sales in like around September of 2019, and I'd gone into a really good coach training program and was trying to figure out how I could use all my passion and talent. I'd been pretty successful in the corporate world, and how I could build a business out of that. And so I got some training. I started like my first training in like the late fall of 19, and I was trying my butt off. I built a website. I was trying all this different stuff. I ran some ads, which got me nowhere because I didn't understand digital marketing, and I couldn't sign a client. And I kept trying to like get free resources and sign up for lists and just this free webinar. And finally, enough people told me, dude, you have got to get a mentor coach. And, I had decided to do 14-day GoPro, and that was really kind of what helped me a lot before I decided to work with you one-on-one. And then I got the results that I was looking for, which was to sign my first client. And I got that within 3 weeks of hiring you. So
yeah, which is pretty cool. And so awesome. Talk about like when we started working together, because I think there's so much that goes into the business, and we can get into some of those details if we have time today too. But just talk about kind of how you are feeling, I think contrasting that to where you are now in terms of the activities, even the simple structures of our business, sending in emails, doing shows, starting to market yourself and put yourself out there. Just talk about like kind of like where you were, how you felt about those activities.
So what comes to mind is I felt phony, right? I felt phony. I felt like this is a pipe dream, man. Who quits their job and just like takes time off? And like I felt like a total phony. And I felt like I wanted to do this life coaching thing, but I didn't know how it was going to get done. And so the feelings around it were, I was afraid to do live. I felt like there was some like sort of sleazy bit to like an email list, and I was refusing to do an email list, which I figured out really quickly is like the ticket to getting in front of better people, So I just kind of felt like lost. I felt like a phony. I kind of had some imposter syndrome, a lot of anxiety. My niche was changing every other day. I'd read about niche and get mad about niche. And then I'd say, I'm just going to be a generalist, and I would do all this stupid stuff, and just kind of felt really overwhelmed and kind of like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. It's funny how you say like, you felt like a phony because so many people come into this, how can you feel like an expert and like you're in the right place when you've never done this before. But then like the niche piece too, it's just like it changes every other day. Like that's so common. I'm glad some people that are listening to this, watching this, I want them to hear that, because I imagine that they're feeling the same way, and that's really where you were. And I loved how you're honest about, and you were honest with me about it. You resisted doing the email stuff. It was just like, there's a piece of it that that didn't appeal to you. What do you think it was that started to turn that around, where you started to realize, like, I really got to do some of this stuff, where you started to feel less phony-ish? What do you think, not that there was a moment per se, but what do you think started to make that transition for you?
Well, I really think doing GoPro kind of helped me see that when I got into GoPro, I realized that only a handful of us actually totally followed through. It was like the ones that followed through seemed to be a little bit more passionate about it. And I noticed as I did my first live during the 14-day GoPro, and the lighting was terrible, and I went too long. I did like a 45-minute live and all this stuff. But one of the things with the email and the live streams was, as soon as I started doing that stuff, I feel like it brought some legitimacy, because as soon as I started to do that stuff, I started to get text messages. And granted, my mom and like old high school teachers and all were the people who were liking and sharing all the links. But I started to get, a lot of comments from, I'd bump into someone, in the lobby of my church or something, and they'd say, I got your email. It looks so professional. I'm glad you're doing this, right? Right off the bat, I started to get good response. And then once I also realized, as I more probed around, like, dude, if you're getting 35% opens off your initial list, that's pretty good, So it gave me some legitimacy. And then having that formula of put out the email, do the live show, I noticed that like it was cool to do a live show and then look at it 3 days later and see that 120 people had watched it, or watched some of it. They don't watch the whole thing, but it was cool. It was like, I really felt like I was a coach for the first time. I felt like I was a legitimate business heading somewhere. And then, like I said, pretty quickly, I was able to put a few things together. Maybe on session 3, you and I talked about some tangible things I could do. And that was when I launched my little group thing. And that was when I first signed that batch of clients.
Yeah. And that was, I remember I think session 2 or 3, as we were coming into the new year last year, I remember we were talking in December, about what it would be like, in January, and you moved with it, you executed on it. And that's the thing that I've always been impressed about you is that you listened to it. And even if you wanted to execute, but there might've been some resistance, but you were honest about it. And then however long it took for you to kind of work through whatever you needed to work through, then you did the work. And we were talking earlier about, you were kind of toggling back and forth, the job, the business, et cetera. Like, talk about that togglingness, if that's even a word, because I think it's good for people to hear that.
Well, I think that if you have the limiting beliefs that you're not a good coach, or that, if you have the limited beliefs that you can't do it, you're going to find like things in your physical reality that will validate that to you. So you don't have to, because you're scared to push past that belief, which is that I'm going to push this business. I'm going to be a full-time coach. I'm going to run a wellness company, right? And so I would find ways to convince when I'd come up against that block, I'd just find ways to just continue to play small, like, oh, well, we're really busy. Like, we're young. We have 2 young kids. Like, this is just not the right time to do this. And I would kind of fall back and maybe slack off. And then I would say, no, I'd have a session with you, and I'd push through, and then maybe I'd get some more feedback. And so I just kind of went back and forth between I can do it, I can't do it, right? And finally, what finally helped was signing a few clients and having people say this was really valuable, or sending someone a Google link and saying, could you please review me? And then reading the wonderful things they would write about on the testimonials and all. And that was like, dude, I got this. I should do this. And then once I got a little traction, that's when the confidence came. So.
Yeah. And obviously it always helps to get the results, but then it's using those results, like I'm hearing from you, is to feed doing more of the activities. But you wouldn't have gotten the results if you didn't do the work.
Right.
And I knew there was some resistance. I think there was that phase, and I can't remember pinpoint exactly when it was, but that you were talking about where it's just like we went over the work, and there was like that back and forth, like, because like you said, you've got a wife, you've got 2 young kids, you've got a full-time job, you're doing this, you're very active in terms of health, fitness, spirituality, the things that you do, your practices that's brought you to this space. And now, you've kind of turned a corner of like this belief that I can do this, which is
Mm-hmm.
huge, which is huge. As we move forward, I want to wrap up in a little bit, talking about kind of some of the results you got, but also kind of like some of the things you start to develop. But let's talk about your story that you embraced and how of kind of what you went through. Because number one, I think it's ridiculously impressive in terms of what you've personally gone through and accomplished. And then how you've been able to utilize that in, which is your message, which is your niche. Talk about that, like kind of what you went through and how that has become your story and your message.
Yeah. So, and we've talked about this at length, but for your viewers, like, so about 15 or 16 years ago, I was in an extremely dark place with alcohol, drugs, and I sort of hit a tipping point in my life where I knew I had to take major changes, right? And I was blessed enough to kind of get through detox and find my way into a recovery community and get sober. But what I noticed was that over the next year or so, I began to like binge eat in a crazy way, just crazy way. And I'm like a year sober and 300 pounds and miserable and hurting really bad and kind of going to different therapists and like failing all of the remedies that people were prescribing for anxiety, depression, obesity, trying all these different diet programs and stuff. And so I just made a decision one day, and this was foundational. Like, I forget, Tony Robbins had a set of tapes in that era. So this was probably 08, 09, called Get the Edge. And I got Get the Edge and put it on my iPod. And I just literally, at 304 pounds with 3XL basketball shorts on and a 2XL t-shirt, just started walking down the street, power walking, listening to Tony saying, I love my life, I can get well, and doing all the affirmation, and I read so much good stuff. I read Wayne Dyer, I read Byron Katie, I read so many great Louise Hay, like all of these really very much positive affirmation, positive thinking type people. And I just slowly, I lost like 120 pounds, and I yo-yoed some of it, but over the last probably 10 years, I've still maintained over 100-pound loss, and probably right at about 115 now. I'm kind of finding that self-love space where my body likes to hang out. I pretty much eat intuitively. I don't like to think of like good food and bad food. I mean, I have my let's see over here. I have my green drink, and I do like a lot of hydrations in the morning and just a little bit of fasting. Nothing intense with the intermittent fasting, just a good time restricted window. And I found I try and help my clients when I've built out this methodology based on my transformation. I try and help people with all the stuff I had to learn, which is food, fitness, relationships, and spirituality, right? And so really my transformation is what I reverse engineered into. Really, Adam Stevens Coaching is essentially a wellness company, right? So that's what I do. I help people transform, and I always say I help busy adults develop the mindset and the habits for lasting happiness, right? So it's that person who's in the peak of their life. They're 30 to 45. They've got kids. They've got a career. Maybe they're married. They both have careers. They're that family who wants to get well. They want to get it all. They want to have the great marriage. I've been with the same woman for 21 years. I'm taking her to get a massage on Friday. It's our 21 years of when I asked her for her number. And I'm happy. And, I've maintained over 100-pound loss. I get on the spin bike. I work out. I meditate. I love myself. And I eat food that I enjoy. And my company is based on helping people find that sense of self-love and spirituality and go out for what they want. Go directly for what you want. Walk straight into the world. Tell them who you are and get what you want. So that's what I've been doing with my coaching company.
Yeah. And I love just how you say that so effortlessly now, because in the beginning you couldn't do that, right? In the beginning, you couldn't do that. And you knew what you went through, and what you shared is, that's only the brink of it all, right? There's so much more intricacy that goes into it, right? But with a broad brushstroke, it's just, that's what you've done. That's how you've been able to maintain and literally turn your life around. But now I love, because you start to really embrace your story and what you've gone through. And it allows others to start to see wow, this guy can help me do this for myself, whether it's specifically similarly circumstances or something different. But there's a certain wellness in a space a brand that you project, and that comes through what you've gone through.
Yeah.
And that's where that also that confidence can come from. And and I'm going to actually put into the chat as well. I got your website. I'll post that in the chat as well, so people can check that out, adamstevenscoaching.com. Because you have a great site. You got some great courses, resources, the things that, we've developed over the years, over the last year. Now when it comes to, I love the last part, one of our last sessions with the client. There was a level of confidence. There was something, I wish I could replicate that session, right? Where you came to me and you just started going off about how you were, like, you believed in what you're offering, and there was something you were doing in terms of, I want to raise my prices. I want to go after the people who are serious about what they're going after, and I want to charge what I'm worth. Talk about kind of that mindset that you have now in terms of what you want to charge, what you believe you're offering, who you're looking for. 'Cause it was great hearing that from you.
Yeah, so I think the initial thing, it's just kind of some of those mindsets need to be distilled down, right? Like, you have to take habitual action to make any of this stuff work, right? And for me, I was so stressed out with trying to manage my job and all. And for me, it just finally clicked that signing longer packages, I just built my modality and my offer is 6 months. It was signing longer packages at a higher price point for a person who's a little bit more tuned up and ready to go. And that would allow me to carry half as many clients to have better quality income. And then that was going to intensify my ability to get my company rocking and rolling. And when I took that mindset, like, I had a discovery call right after that session and it closed like effortlessly, right? Or I offered the free, and then the next week it was like easy. There was like no resistance at all to asking for the money or receiving it. So it just helped me understand that, get a good offer. I know exactly what I offer. It's just what I said. It's the busy adult. We're going to get that foundational mindset, get you rocking on some habits, manage your stress, manage your boundaries, get a hold of your calendar, and really take ownership and follow through with some self-care stuff and go for it. And so the confidence for me came when I realized, and this is deeper, the visioning work I'm doing with where I want to take this company, is that literally, I've always wanted to impact. That's kind of, I'm an older millennial, but that's kind of the millennial word. So they want this mythical thing called impact. And I realized my impact is through wellness, my story, and literally through wellness, individual wellness packages, transformations, one-on-one with people that are ready to go, corporate wellness. So leadership, corporate strategy, bringing mindfulness meditation into the workplace, building better organizational culture. And then globally, if I was able to like really launch this business and keep up the momentum, because it's heading places, it's really taking off right now, then literally on a global level, like if I'm going to change the world, I'm going to do it through wellness. And I get to meet people individually, the corporate sphere, globally. I'm going to change the world with wellness. So that's my mission. The tagline for the business is Adam Stevens Coaching, Health, Mindset, Soul. So I meet them on all the levels. And yeah, so it dawned on me, dude, if you want to change the world, do it. Do it with wellness. Do it with meditation. Do it through teaching relationships. Do it through helping people have amazing marriages, right? Just do it. Go for it,
Yeah. I love that. Dude, just do it.
Yeah.
But that's the voice that comes within.
Mm-hmm.
And before, though, the voices that were coming within were saying what?
You're phony. You can't do this. You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough. You don't know enough about business,
Yeah. And the bottom line, to go from there to where you are now, what do you really attribute that to?
I had an intense drive to be successful. I have an intense drive, right? Like, to build the life I want. And somewhere along the line, so after session 3, when we built like my signature course and I signed a few clients, and then right after that I signed 2 one-to-one clients. After that, I just came to realize that there's only one hurdle in life altogether, and it's just waking up every day and doing stuff you're afraid to do. If you're willing to wake up every single day and do stuff, even if you're afraid. At first, I was afraid to make the cold outreach, and then I kept the spreadsheet. It was like, you know what? I put 5 people in an in-person workshop in the middle of COVID, and it took me 35 outreaches, and there was like 27 ghosts, but I got my 5 people. And no one ever told me, why'd you contact me, or you're a sleaze. People just ghosted. And that's no big deal. That wasn't my client. So once I realized you just have to wake up every day and know exactly what you want. And like I said, I want to run a company that my lead gen or my opt-in on my website, my lead gen is a free audio teach called Setting Goals and Jumping Hurdles. All you have to do is wake up every day and just jump the hurdle. The I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't sell, I'm not business savvy, that's just the same hurdle. I woke up to it this morning and I said, screw it, I'm jumping over it. That's all you have to do. That's it. That's the one limiting belief.
Dude, I love listening to you, man. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think I admitted this to you last time. Like sometimes in the sessions, I would sit there listening to you, and there's the part of mentor coach where I'm listening to you to help you, et cetera. And then there's a part of me that's just a human being that's just like, dude, this is awesome. Like keep going. You're inspiring me. So I think what I took from that last part was you had this intense drive to create the life that you want to create for yourself and help others along the way. And you just didn't let anything get in that way. Right? That was it. Yeah. Dude, this is so good. I really appreciate you and kind of where you've come from. I appreciate it, that intense drive. Right now, just briefly talk about some of the things that you're doing, like your book, like talk about some of those things, because this is the future. Because the next time I have you in the show, I'm going to have your book in my hands and we'll be talking about your book, right? So just talk about briefly the future of where you're going this year.
Yeah, so the book has kind of evolved even since we talked. So the book, I've got a good start on it. The book is called You Can Do This, Beating Addiction and Creating Abundant Health. So you can do this. I heard a voice the night I got sober, like an intuition, not a voice with my ears, but I just felt this love in me that said, you can do this, you can get sober. And that was like a foundational moment that happened on November the 16th, 2006. And that was the day I was released from alcoholism. So the book is called You Can Do This, Beating Addiction and Creating Abundant Health. And just everything that I'm doing, I recently, because of the email list and because people were impressed with my professionalism, I just was recently invited into a therapy office. And they want someone that's in-house to teach these workshops. They're going to allow me to teach wellness workshops on Saturdays. They even recently, they allowed me to have an office. So they were like, you don't have to sign a lease, just come in, get to know us. We'll send you referrals. And if it takes off, you can sign a lease. So it's like Wednesdays are my office days. I can shoot my live shows in my beautiful office now. It's a furnished office. They've staged it. It's beautiful. I can shoot really high def videos for teaching videos. And Tuesdays are my virtual days. I coach 2 days a week. I went directly to my boss. Like I'm only working 3 days a week, but I went directly to him and was just like, hey, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I got to have that off. Amazing opportunities. And he was very supportive. He's been super supportive. And so I'm doing a lot with engagement. In the limited time I work, I'm doing a lot with engagement. I built this thing we call the Good Vibe Squad at work. So it's I'm just really putting my whole heart into this whole thing. And I just know I'm going to succeed, and I know with the book and the public speaking and even with one of the counselors I know, it was a personal trainer first. So she wants to do public speaking at gyms and I'm meeting with 4 different people, tomorrow at 2 p.m. We're just going to hang out and talk about how we want to build wellness that's so much of wellness is about I'm going to sell you shakes or get shredded and all. We want to build wellness in a way that we really get to the deeper core of why people struggle to take care of themselves. So I got a ton of big meetings. The book's coming along. I launched wellbeingbootcamp.com, which is my in-person workshop, and it went so well. I'm going to wellbeingbootcamp.com. I'm going to brand it. I'm going to do a virtual one too. So the in-person is 6 hours. The virtual one is going to be 2 Zoom calls on Sundays that I'm going to do so I can do a virtual one. And I'm just going to keep on going, man. I'm going to do this thing.
Dude, this is what I wanted people to hear. This can be anybody. Anyone can do this. You're no different than anybody else. It's just you took internals, you took your intense drive, and you put it all into this. And this is taking time. And this is, call it in just less than a year. Call it 10 months-ish, right? Yeah. Imagine this expanded out into another 2 years, 3 years, 10 years from now. That's what it takes. It takes time to put it all together. And that's where you're going, man. And I'm going to be there every step of the way for whatever you need because you impress me.